All right, let's now get to top congressional leaders who are at the White House at this hour as the president and Republicans, as well as Democrats, are meeting. But they seem to be playing a game of chicken right here with less than 36 hours to go until we are told of a full government shutdown is likely. The vice president saying that in just the last few minutes.
You don't put a gun to the American people's head and say, unless you do exactly what Senate and House Democrats want you to do, we're going to shut down your government. That's exactly what they're proposing out there.
Well, the clock is ticking here because here's the bottom line. The bottom line is that Congress has until just midnight Wednesday to reach a deal to keep the lights on, with neither party looking like they're ready to compromise. And in fact, if no deal is struck, that could quickly go to a government shutdown with some big potential cuts as well and a big impact. Hundreds of thousands of workers across the federal government could be affected and furloughed, while members of the military and other essential workers will be ordered to stay on the job but would not receive a paycheck. And if you don't fall into the above categories there, you could definitely still feel a shutdown. Some services would be slowing to a crawl, and facilities like national parks and museums closing down. NBC's Julie Tsirkin is following all of this for us. She's on Capitol Hill. Julie, the hope was that this White House meeting would break the logjam in Congress. Has that happened?
No, it has not, Tom. It seems like the logjam has just gotten more stickier to solve. And I just walked out of a press conference that the two Democrats that were in the room, Leader Schumer and Jeffries, are holding with reporters, again, re-emphasizing the points that they made at the White House, which is that they are dug in. Leader Schumer just said a couple of moments ago that if a shutdown happens, it would be Republicans that are to blame, because in his mind, anything that Democrats are demanding, which in this case are provisions on health care, provisions to extend or make permanent the Affordable Care Act cuts that they say Republicans made in that so-called One Big Beautiful Bill this summer, that those provisions are popular and they're reasonable and Republicans should go along with it. Take a listen to what else we heard from Schumer speaking outside of the White House.
I think for the first time, the president heard our objections and heard why we needed a bipartisan bill. Ultimately, he's the decision maker, and if he will accept some of the things we asked, which we think the American people are for, on health care and on rescissions, he can avoid a shutdown. But there are still large differences between us.
Now, what Leader Schumer and Jeffries further revealed to reporters, Tom, is that Republicans said we'll deal with health care later. And so in Democrats' minds, they keep kicking the can down the road. What makes this so challenging for Democrats is that traditionally they have been the party that, quote unquote, cared about government shutdowns. You already saw that in that threat that the Office of Management and Budget, the person in charge essentially of parsing these funds out once Congress appropriates them, telling Congress, look, we call your bluff because we will just straight up fire a number of these reporters, a number of these employees rather than furlough them. And so this is a real gamble for Democrats with a little over 24 hours to go.
You know, those of us who went through the last government shutdown 6 years ago remember that while some Americans who don't work for the government may think it's not going to impact them, folks across the country in and out of government could still feel this.
Absolutely. And another example of this, and this is something the White House is really making key in terms of the people that I spoke to, is that funding for women and children infant formula expires at the end of September. So does flood insurance. So beyond the hundreds of thousands of government employees who could perhaps be showing up to work without a paycheck, some, as I mentioned, who are under threat of being laid off altogether, this has really practical implications for people who don't work in the government as well. You see that up on your screen. Museums and parks closed. Social Security checks will be late up. Potentially food assistance, air travel, air traffic controllers. A number of them would be showing up to work, as you know, Tom, on your beat, not getting paid, TSA agents as well, but there'll be a lot less of them if that happens. So this is extremely practical for Americans. That last shutdown you mentioned, the longest in history, went over 35 days, extremely unpopular for both the president during his first term, then was blamed for it, but also Democrats in the midterms and in the 2020 election ended up losing seats. So this is extremely politically viable, not viable, I should say, for both parties, and it would hurt millions of Americans, too.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.